Welcome to another SPORE UFO Spotlight. Today I'm covering ships from the Stargate universe. And first though, I'd like to say that I didn't create any of these starships and vehicles. The names of the actual makers of each creation are right beneath the names of the creations themselves. First though, I'm going to start with this here. This is called Roz Mothership, and it's a Hatak mothership of the Goauld, and it was first featured in the 1994 movie Stargate, which actually kicked off the various Stargate television series. Now, it resembles an Egyptian pyramid, and it is supposed to have a hollow interior, which is designed to allow it to use pyramids as landing platforms. So this is a pretty good looking model of that. And like I said, this is Roz Mothership, and the various Goauld are named after ancient deities in the series and are meant to be the actual inspiration for those deities in human mythology. And next we have this here, which is another Hatak class ship. Now this one here is the golden main section inside of a much larger superstructure. And now the Hatak vessels, compared to other capital ships from other races such as the Ancients or the Asgard or the ONeill, are clearly inferior. Next is a Goauld Death Glider right here. And the first appearance of these is actually in the Stargate movie, as I mentioned, and it does appear in several episodes of Stargate SG-1. Now the color pattern itself is somewhat off, but I felt the overall design was actually pretty accurate. But it should, I think, usually be more golden and Egyptian looking. Now it's a two-seat fighter craft designed for combat in both space and the atmosphere of planets. And they don't use direct thrust, so actually in a way these jets at the back are pretty inaccurate. It actually has an inertial propulsion system which regulates the effects of inertia on the craft. So it has inertial dampeners and that to protect the pilots and those who ride inside of it from the effects of G-forces and such. Now I'm going to move over to this here, which is an F-302 from Stargate SG-1 and also Stargate Atlantis. Got a few little details they added onto here. I don't know how much of that is accurate, but it has a very militaristic look to it. And basically the F-302s are like Death Gliders. They're an air and space superiority vehicle operated by the U.S. Air Force, Russian Federation, and possibly the People's Republic of China. Now, they were reverse engineered from Goauld technology, as the humans tried to come up with technology to actually fight the Goauld. The Goauld themselves, in their actual true form, are a parasite which takes control of a host, most of the time a human host, and this gives the host basically immortality, a few minor abilities or powers, but in essence the parasite takes complete control over the human host, and they have very malevolent and bad intentions for all humanity. So the humans of Earth are left to constantly struggle against the Goauld, and it takes up a major part of the Stargate SG-1 series up until the later episodes, where they're not as much of a threat anymore. Now here we have the Asgard Balliskner class. Asgard Balliskner class ship. Notable for a hammer-shaped front section and this very defined rear portion as well. This creator did quite a good job. I like the look of this, as well as how well it captures the ships from the series. Now, this is the primary type of ship used by the Asgard, and the Asgard are a benevolent, extremely advanced race from another galaxy, and they're the actual origin of Norse mythology. So just like I mentioned, the Goauld inspired a lot of the myths and the names of the deities from human history. The Asgard themselves did the same thing, such as the names Thor or Loki or Odin. But the Asgards play a protector role of humanity in the series, and it's a very formidable ship. And like I said, they have advanced technology, so pretty much in all ways they are able to defeat Goauld whenever they are battling them. But they are from another galaxy, as I mentioned, so they have their own struggles going on within that galaxy, which prevents them from, fully taking on the Goauld, and leaves the humans to battle them, for the most part, on their own. But like I said, the Asgard have their own battle going on in their home galaxy, and that is actually against something known as the Replicators. And this ship here is in an ONeill class warship, named after Colonel ONeill, who plays the pretty much lead role in the Stargate series for the most part, up until later episodes. And so for what he did for the Asgard, they named this class of ship after him. And this is the most advanced ship in the Asgard fleet, designed solely to fight the Replicators. Now, the Replicators, they are advanced robots capable of reproducing themselves and consuming all available resources in the process. And they, for the most part, start out as nanites and tiny building blocks. And throughout the course of the different series, they take on other forms, eventually at one point having a human form. And in the human form, they created this replicator ship. Up until that point, they mainly took over Asgard or other races' ships and just continued to propagate themselves and spread like a disease. And that's the case where the Asgard are locked in a struggle against the Replicators and can only do so much in the Milky Way galaxy while they're occupied in their own fighting the Replicators. Here is the X-304 Daedalus, which is a Daedalus class battlecruiser, and this is a Tauri ship. The Tauri is the term used by the inhabitants of the Milky Way to refer to Earth and the human beings from Earth. Now, this ship was developed by the United States military and its allies, and incorporated Asgard shields, beaming technology, so that's like transporters in Star Trek, as well as the Asgard hyperdrive. It's armed with 32 rail guns, tactical warheads, so that'd be like nuclear weapons, and a bay of F-302 fighters, like the fighter I just showed a few ships ago. Now, the Daedalus's main mission was to ferry equipment between Earth and Atlantis, located in the Pegasus galaxy. And it's the 18-day trip, and they are also assigned on the Daedalus with assisting the Atlantis expedition crew for whatever particular jobs or missions are going on. And this is a really good likeness. I like what they did with this. Looks very sophisticated. A lot of details went into this. So I'm pretty impressed. Looks a lot like what you see in the series. And let's see. This kind of leads up to Atlantis, Stargate Atlantis. Now, this is a separate series from Stargate SG-1, where basically the humans discover the city ship Atlantis in the Pegasus galaxy. And the Atlantis story is the supposed origin for the Atlantis mythology from our human history. The ancients, they left the Milky Way galaxy several million years ago, taking this Atlantis city ship with them, and settled on a planet named Lantia in the Pegasus galaxy. They then came to be known as the Lanteans, and the city ship has approximately the same internal space as that of Manhattan, so it's pretty big, and I can imagine how hard it is to get something that's supposed to be the size of a city built in the SPORE UFO creator. So they did pretty well with this. It's got the right shape, so not bad at all. Next is the Lanten Gate ship, commonly known as a Puddle Jumper. Very good details. I like this. There's a little door back here. Now it features retractable thrusters, so these can slide in. That allows it to travel through a Stargate, and it also features a cloaking device. So the Stargate Atlantis team uses it in a lot of missions to explore through a Stargate, around a world with a Stargate, and there's a lot of episodes where they use the Puddle Jumper. I really like this model of it. Next is the Wraith Hive ship. Now, this is a massive ship. It's actually 13 times the size of the Tauri Daedalus class ship, and it's constructed from a biological polymer, so it's a bio ship, and they function in a role similar to the Lantean city ship. They're the centerpiece of the Wraith's entire society. And the Wraith are actually a vampiric, hive-based species that harvest the life force of other humanoid beings for nourishment. And they eventually defeated the Lanteans in the Pegasus galaxy and forced them to return to the Milky Way. Here is a Wraith Dart. It's a single pilot ship, and it's used primarily for culling humans, basically abducting them using a transport beam while they attack a human settlement on some planet. And they are small enough to fit through a Stargate, but are often simply dispatched from a Hive ship. And they do in the series make a particular kind of neat sounding noise as they're flying around. Next we have right here. This is the Lanten Aurora class battleship. And this is actually the Aurora itself. That's the name of the ship. And I can tell because in the episode where the Stargate Atlantis team finds this, it has one of its side features missing, so it's not symmetrical. So that's the Aurora itself, which is, like I said, of the Aurora class. And they don't know the actual class name that the ancients used, but that's what the Tauri and the humans refer to it as. Now, the ancients used it in their war against the Wraith, and it's considered to be among the most advanced class of warships ever created. At peak capacity, just one of these was more than a match for an entire fleet of Wraith Hive ships. And it's also a very large battleship. Now moving on to this here. This is the Asuran Aurora class battleship, and in the Lanteans, the Ancients' war against the Wraith, they created a technological life form constructed from nanites called the Asurans, and it's much like the Replicators. I don't know if they're actually the same exact technology, but the Ancients created them to fight the Wraiths, but as I said, the Ancients lost that war, but the Asurans survived, and they used older variations of the Aurora class battleships, so that's why this here actually looks so much different from the Aurora class I just showed. I don't know how close this particular one is to what the Asurans used, but it's meant to represent an older style, older not class, but an older variation. And the Asurans, as I said, they're basically replicators taking on human form, and they more or less imitated the outdated Lantean technology in use until they were abandoned by their creators. So that's why they had the outdated technology that they had. And next is the Destiny. Destiny is an exploration vessel. The Ancients constructed this and launched it around 60 million years ago from Earth. This is a really good model. I'd say only that the front section should be a little bit longer and perhaps thinner, but like I said, quite a good model of the Destiny. And this is featured in the series Stargate Universe, actually. And I watched the Stargate Universe all the way through, and I was kind of sad when it actually ended. I think they ended it before the writers of the show really would have wanted to, so it kind of had a bit of a rushed ending to the series. But the Ancients constructed this with the purpose of deep space exploration and to solve a riddle of basically how the universe was created. And ahead of this ship, they launched seed ships that basically explored and planted stargates along the path that the Destiny would eventually take, and then the Ancients would follow in the Destiny and explore those planets. And the Destiny has its own Stargate on board of it, and that's how the Ancients planned to get on board once it reached sufficient distance from Earth. where it originated. But the ancients never followed through with that because of other things they had going on. Namely, they learned to ascend, which was to move beyond the need for physical existence. And lastly, I believe, is this here. This is an ONeill Mothership or ONeill warship. Considering the amount of detail on one of these, this one's very well built. It's got a nice glowing center part right there. And the Alterans were the first evolution of humanity. So millions and millions of years ago on Earth. And they eventually split into two factions, which were the Ancients, that later became the Lanteans, and the other was the ONeill. Now the ONeill learned how to ascend, like the Ancients did, but the ONeill used their knowledge and power as a justification and a means to demand worship from mortal beings. So they took it upon themselves to shape the destiny of mortal beings and demanded worship from them and got power from that worship. And this ONeill Mothership, they appear to be smaller than Wraith Hive ships or the Aurora class battleships, and being of approximately equal size to the Asgard's ONeill class vessels. So that's what I have for the Stargate series, and I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.